What's up? Welcome in, folks. Welcome in to Lost Letterman brings you Timeout Convos with Stacey Hough. The Huff's still a little something we do here every now and then. My man Todd holding it down. Todd, thanks for having this platform, man.
Rest in peace to the great George Glint. He said, "Always be promoting."
always be promoting. Todd, Dr. J.R. Green, Todd from Lost Letterman.
How's it going, Dr. Green?
Hey, how you doing, brother?
Thanks for joining, man. And Stacey, can I say a little piece before you get going?
Please do your thing, man. Wait, no, Van Zyl Harrell be joining us here in about 2 minutes. He said so. He's coming on, but go ahead.
It's okay. We fluid, man. We're going 5 out. Sometimes just gotta take the ball. We go 5 out.
5 out, baby. Let's go.
Special edition tonight. We got Dr. J.R. Green. Man, I got to get my subject and verb agreement right tonight. But we got Dr. J.R. Green in the house. And, Stacey always has got his verbals right. So I might just need to shut the hell up. We got a few really good topics. And obviously anything else you all want to pontificate about, let's do it tonight. So, man, Stacey, let's get going on some South USC football, and we're going to talk a little Clemson football once Van gets on. But let's talk a little South Carolina football.
Yeah, and just to top it off, my man, Dr. J.R. Green, past superintendent and educator, par excellence, Fairfield County school system, 12 years. Van Hare, TV salesperson and actor in his own right, thespian, and myself. We're going to chop it up a little bit. My man Todd holding it down. So Dr. Green and I are going to hit this real quick, and we know the Gamecocks got off to a start that had people grumbling and mumbling, and
I think we lost Doc.
Doc is gone. Doc left us. Okay, he'll jump back in hopefully, but
all right, but I get him.
Get him back in. But a lot of people, Shane Beamer was on that a little warm seat. Offensive line looked bad. The defense looked a little shaky, and Vanderbilt, a team that had lost to Carolina 16 times in a row, came in and hammered them. I mean, it was a woodshed. It was a good old-fashioned AW, as I like to call it. And I watched the game, I believe, with Dr. Green, and we the fans, we wasn't happy. We looked kind of bad. And Dr. Green, I'm going to throw it to you a little bit and talk about what you saw this first few weeks and how the Gamecock Nation was caused a little consternation early in this season for the Gamecocks.
Well, Stacey, I'm going to go ahead and start it off, I guess, with a little controversy that you and I have bantered back and forth a bit.
Yeah.
Relative to the theory that we may not have the talent to be as successful as we aspire to be.
Right.
And so we've had lots of conversation about some of the product we've seen.
Yeah.
And rather that is a function of development or rather that is a function of talent.
Right.
Now, I make the argument that if we get better during the course of the season, then that would negate the argument that it's a talent issue. All right. So you might question that
a little bit.
And I've been here for the last several years. What a good job we have been doing recruiting.
Right.
I've been watching all these big time recruits we've been landing. And I watched the offensive line and I'm thinking, who do we recruit? We're not blocking that.
Right.
And so But when you look at some of the names like Babalade and some of these 5-star recruits,
yeah,
then I gotta ask what's happening once they get here.
Yeah, and that leaves the question. So and my thing actually, Dr. Green and Todd and those listening out there, the older I get, things are gray. Nothing's black and white. So I think it is a nice remix. It's a Rubber Dub remix from old school hip hop artist. I think the talent is not performing up to the level, and the talent may have been misevaluated, which means that's coaching. So I think the coaching is not developed. I think they might have missed on some evaluation, and I think the players themselves have to hold themselves accountable. When I talked to a couple of matter of fact, Corey Jenkins, I did his game last week, junior high school candidate, and they'll tell you at some point, the coach puts you there. If you miss a tackle, that's you. The coach job is to put you in position to make the tackle. If you miss the tackle, then maybe you're not good enough. So it's a little bit of both. Sometimes we look like we're out of place, and that's coaching and development. And sometimes we just maybe wasn't as intent upon making the tackle as it should have been. That's kind of a man-on-man machismo thing right there at some point. So I think we got to blame. But Gamecock Nation isn't happy. But I'll say this, Dr. Green, and I said it going into last week's game. I was out of town a little bit last week, so we didn't talk as much last week. But I was down in Jacksonville last week, and I was telling people, I said, every time Shane Beamer gives people grumbling, he wins the next game. And so Kentucky was in for it. because every time that, they start wanting him to fire people and get rid of the coordinators and the guys, which tells me they play hard for Shane though. My question,
but at the same time, Huff, we didn't get any more talented from the Missouri game to the Kentucky game.
Could have played harder.
So we didn't get any more talented from the Vanderbilt game to the Kentucky game.
No, and that's the thing though. Is the talent what you and I talked about this? Is the talent maybe not as good as we think? And I'll say this, and we're going Van Zyl Harris right there. We're going to bring Van Zyl Harris and Jeff Harris. You can talk about the Cox as well. I know you're a Clemson guy. We're going to get your Clemson perspective, but I know you got some thoughts on Carolina because we got some on Clemson too, by the way. So we're going to share all around. We're going to mix this whole thing up in a pot. But Dr. Green, I'll say this. When you go out and you have a game like against Kentucky, a team that you should, you probably should beat. Sometimes the Jimmys and Joes got to show up, and they show up better than others sometimes. But some of those mental mistakes, we're not gonna know from what we said if they were told not to do certain things, like a quarterback going 15 yards backwards on a scramble. Nobody's coached to do that. The coach didn't tell them to do that. Now, at some point, you just can't. You got to know you can't run backwards 15 yards on the goal line. Coach, nobody could say, "Hey, retreat 15 yards on the goal line." That's a player decision, right? And I will bring Van Zyl in, Van Zyl Dabo, and your boys looking some kind of way. How y'all?
Hold on 1 second, Stacey. To Doc's point, and I got to quantify what Dr. Green just said when he talked about these recruiting classes. I just looked it up.
Yeah,
South Carolina's recruiting class in 2024 was ranked 18th. 2023 they were ranked 18th. 2022 they were ranked 20th. So 18th is good. Yeah. But it's not. It's not in the top 10. So I think what might be happening.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is since everybody's in that fishbowl, and with social media, you start yapping. A 4-star.
We lost you for a second, Todd. We lost your audio, Todd, for a second right there. We lost your audio. Todd. We can't hear Todd right now. I can't.
No.
But let me jump in there and say this, Green. Van, I'm gonna throw it to you, but let me say this one thing about it. If we're 18th, here's why that's a false flag. If there's 7 SEC teams in front of you, then 18th recruit to go get you 8th place in SEC, right? so that's a false. Stats can lie. 18th is great if you talk about 100 teams, but in your conference, if 7 teams in your conference ahead of you, then guess what? You ain't supposed to finish better than that.
That was my point. And I think sometimes if you're there in Columbia and you looking at the state, you're looking at online, and you see, we just got a 4-star. We got a 4-star. That's a great recruit, but ain't a 5-star.
Yeah, but Todd, I would challenge you on this point, Todd. Look up where Vanderbilt ranked in recruiting over the last 4 years.
That's the one team, though. You're right.
Let's look at where Vanderbilt ranked their recruiting. I would bet you my house Vanderbilt was behind 18. Vanderbilt was behind 20, and they beat us up and down the field. So
no, you're right, and I get that. Hey, we got to bring Van in. We got to bring Van in, and I said a little bit about JR's superintendent. He's an educator. He's retired, and we'll talk about his mirror comment. We'll get you plug your podcast and your moments you do on social media. Van, tell the folks a little bit about your background and what you do.
I've been a media sales professional for over 20 years, 25 plus years, and working in local radio and television advertising and marketing. Mostly in Columbia. I've done a couple of stints up in the upstate in Greenville, but mostly around Columbia because I wanted to be near family. Family grew up in Fairfield County. My nephew and his mama said to tell you hello, Dr. Green. And I venture out into other things. I do some things around the communities. I've sat on some boards. I've done some acting. Looking forward to doing more acting. So if anybody needs a seasoned young man to portray a character, call me.
There you go. Speaking of acting, what's Clemson acting like early in the season? What's that? How you feel?
I'm a realist, and I just tell the truth. Clemson is acting like they are more than what they think they are. I mean, the record is true. that loss to Georgia Tech and a loss to Syracuse were real. Well, no flukes in those. So there's nothing for Clemson to say other than we ain't get the job done. And speaking of, recruiting rankings, Clemson is typically in the top 15 or so on average over the last decade, maybe even a little more. So where those players are ranked, like you said, can be a false flag. We've got some dynamic assistant coaches up there that can get the players developed. But I think that there are some things that kind of roll downhill that get in the way of that. The head man is the head man. And he's proven through his track record. He knows how to build a program. There are things that he probably needs to adjust to in today's environment that ain't gonna work. That if he brings it in from 10 years ago, it ain't gonna work today. So there's a lot of adapting that he's got to do and empower his assistant coaches to do. And honestly, give some of those assistant coaches some autonomy because there may be some players that the assistant coaches are high on, but for whatever reason, up the line, they're like, nah, I don't know if we want to talk to that guy or not. So, it's a whole lot going on.
Looks like it.
Exactly. And it's finally showing up on the field. This has been a few years building up to this point in time. And I hope that, now that we're here, I hope, he sees that, hey, 2015, 2012, 2018, those years are in the past, and we got to deal with what we got right now in the present.
No doubt. I appreciate that, everything you said right there. So let me say this. I'm going to go to my friend and frat brother and fellow Gamecock Green, and I'm going to come back to you, Vanzel, with this. I'm going to ask both of y'all a question, and I'm going to go both ways. I'm going to phrase it to you a certain way, Dr. Green. I'm going to phrase it to you, Vanzel, a certain way, and y'all do what you want to with it. But Dr. Green, this is a new day and era, and I think one of the reasons I think Shane Beamer is the right guy, probably because he moves in this transfer portal NIL deal. He speaks the language. He seems to identify. I think the way Shane approaches is the way to go, but it's a hit and miss. Last year we had guys. They got a linebacker from Charlotte. We got a couple defensive backs. We got guys, our older transfer guys. We got a rush in from Georgia Tech, and they had great seasons and they hit. This year early, I don't think our portal guys are doing the right thing. So I'm gonna ask you, Dr. Green, can it be turned around? And do you see it as a matter of maybe we missed on some of the problem maybe we missed in the portal a little bit this year?
So I agree with your assessment that the portal can be hit and miss, but I'm not sure that our optimism around this season was based on transfers. When I look at the core of who we were counting on to really make this season a success, other than the transfer running back, there was nobody else I really heard that we were really leaning on that was going to really be a difference maker. I mean, obviously in the receiving room, we got a lot of young guys, not transfers. These are just a lot of young, true freshmen who I think are really doing a great job. I think really the miss is that we look at like a Babalati who starts his freshman year and isn't even playing his junior year. Okay, so we bring a five-star offensive lineman who starts his freshman year, barely plays his sophomore year, and up until last week, I don't know if he had seen the field. It's invisible. Year. So so we expect him to be doing better as his career goes along.
Right.
And so that's a head scratcher.
Yeah, I get it. And Gerald, to your point, that's a great point. And that would only be acceptable if the offensive line was one of the best in the nation. You say, well, he just got better guys, just that good that they are 5-star got put to the bench. They're not good, and he's on the bench. That's what's got me worried. He had you worried as well. We're not looking great, and we got a 5-star that was, like I said, he was on the milk carton. He was, we were looking for him we were talking about like, where is he? We thought he was hurt. There were rumors that he was hurt, and he wasn't hurt, and he just wasn't on the field. So that's disappointing. But I'm gonna take that and go to Van real quick, and then we're gonna put a bow on Carolina Clemson, and then we're gonna go to Bruce Pearl in a minute. Y'all, we're gonna love that part. I know y'all can't wait. But Van, I'm gonna ask you the question in a remix form. Dabo is famously known nationally for saying, "We Clemson, we don't need the portal. We good. We Clemson over here. We good." Has that mistake been made obvious? Is that going to change, or is it to the point where the fans are going to grumble enough to whether he wants to or not, he's going to have to change, or something's going to have to change?
Well, he's already changed. And Dabo was not against the portal. What he was, okay. He kind of talked out of both sides of his neck. Because he did use the portal. He's used the portal. If you remember, quarterback from out of Casey over here, he went out to Stanford. He was at Clemson. He went out to Stanford and he came back, and those were all transfers.
Okay.
But Dabo cherry picks the portal, and he cherry picks the portal for depth, or at least in the past, he's cherry picked the portal for depth. This year, he brought in the defensive end from Purdue. To come in and play bookend to TJ Parker. That's worked out. Right. He got a legitimate talent to come in and play the other end of the line. However, he does need to look deeper into the portal at the talent that's available. And Dabo, whatever his convictions are, he still don't want to play the money game. Personally, I hate the money game in college football.
We're gonna get to that probably.
Yeah, that's because now you've got young people who don't really have a mind for money, looking for money, and so now they have tied up their entire value of themselves in how much money they get. Like the guy that ended up at Michigan, the quarterback that ended up at Michigan, he just kept taking bids until he got the highest bid. Michigan came through with the money, so now he's a Michigan Wolverine and started.
Right.
So if Dabo will look at the transfer portal for talent rather than depth, even if that talent ends up second on the chart, dude, you got talent. It doesn't matter where they are. What you want is your talent to contribute, because we need help behind that defensive line. Our linebackers are not a strong group for us. I'm sorry. I haven't heard anybody say anything different. And you all can surmise probably why. If you have actually look on the field.
They look a little different. They look a little different.
So, they are straight line guys. They can fill the hole, but in space, they can get shook out of their shoes.
They're getting hunted. Man. Hunted.
You want
teams are coming.
Yeah, you want to go after the guy that can't move laterally. Yeah. If all they can do is go straight ahead, hey, give me my shifty back, and I need to get me to the second level, and I know he's gonna run off 12 yards.
I'm gonna give y'all two things that bother me about both teams' roster. Then I'm gonna get a record prediction for both of y'all. Okay, let me tell you two things. I'm gonna throw my little opinion out here real quick. Two things that bother me about Clemson, and I'm a Clemson hater, man. I'm a card carrying. Let's say disliker. Hate's a strong word.
No, you're a hater. You're a hater.
Yeah, you're okay. I am, bro. I am. It's from way down. But
I love you anyway.
But two things. I love, it's all love, baby. All love from way back since 85. We go back to 85. But man, two things. That linebacking core looks that's problematic. Yeah. And when Clemson never had a situation, we have a running back, a wide receiver move the tailback. They usually have a recruiting thing that's so deep. Those things look un-Clemson to me. Both of those. So in green, and then I'm gonna get a prediction for that. Jimmy just throw out the two things for Carolina. Donovan Murph and Rowe. Murph should be a senior at Irmo. Rowe is a true freshman, and they get as many snaps at wide receiver as anybody on the team. That's bad. That's bad for the wide receiver, and that's not good for Sellers. And then also Luke Doty being second backup quarterback is not a good look. That's not a team. That's not a contending team with Luke Doty as your backup quarterback. I just want to throw those two things out. That's me. Dr. Green, they can turn around. Gamecocks right now, record-wise, better than Clemson, but our schedule is 10 times worse than Clemson coming up. How do you see it shaking out down there? Give me a brief answer on that, and you do Van, then we'll go to Bruce Pearl.
I think the Gamecocks squeak out 7 wins this season. Yeah,
Okay.
I think we squeak
I'm
out
with you on
7
that
wins. We win a couple of them that we are favored to win, and we get to 7 and go to a decent bowl.
There you go. I love it. I'm with it. I'm with it all day, Van. What you think? How it works out?
It's trending towards 7 with the possibility of 8 because of a home matchup with FSU, and FSU is kind of falling back to earth a little bit. So yeah, there's potential there to get that 8th win, but 7 is looking most likely.
Yeah, and so I think with that being said, we'll put a bow on that right here. That's great conversation, y'all. That's great because we covered a lot of things right there in a little short bit of time. But Carolina Clemson, there's been some angst. Yo,
hey Stacey, can I cut in 1 second?
I'm right here. Yes, sir. Please.
I'm gonna cut in, and I think it's gonna lead you exactly to your next point. And on Clemson and Carolina, I don't know football at all. I don't know basketball very much either. But with that being said, I think I could have told you or predicted Clemson when I was it 4 or 5 when all the BLM stuff happened. When George Floyd happened.
Yeah.
This is how I knew Nick Saban was such a superior coach to a lot of his peers. His players were hurt at that time. Nick Saban's players were hurt. And you could tell they were hurt by what was going on.
Yeah.
Nick Saban got out there and marched with those guys. Not because he was marching for BLM or anything else, but he understood that it meant something to his guys. And he understood that he needed to be out there with those guys. Because, and even that's where his bread was buttered, with those guys. So it would have been stupid for him to be anywhere else. Dabo,
perfectly said.
Dabo, during that same time, he started leaning on God and all. Like nobody else believes in God. Like we all believe in God.
Right.
But he didn't understand how important it was to some of his players. And I think whether he knows it or not, he disconnected from a lot of guys, and the game disconnected too during that time. So if you got a parent like J.R. Green, if you got a parent like Van Zel Hare, they look at that stuff. They look at that stuff.
Right.
No doubt.
The second part is with Beamer. I don't know what kind of coach Shane Beamer is in terms of X's and O's, but I tell you one thing, and I know that area he grew up in, and I know his dad and the guys who played for his dad. Shane Beamer's got soul in him. He's got soul. He understands how to connect with those players. Yeah. I don't know what kind of coach he is, but like Dr. Green said earlier, those guys play for him, man. They connected with him. So that's just a difference, man. And that
does lead me to the exactly. That does lead me to a point too, because when you realize your guys realize you're disconnected and you don't have that back. Bruce Pearl stepped down because I think he was going to lose his team. And we can go back and we'll start with you, Van Zel, and then we'll go to Dr. Green. Bruce Pearl stepped down. It's been, in the news a couple of weeks ago or whatever, but we know he's been more and more over the last several years, being more outspoken on political matters. He's been, choosing sides, and he's been doing some things and it's the timing of it. If a person A, everybody has a right to believe what they want to believe. But if person A says something that is aimed at your players in the locker room, your locker room was made up a certain way. You can't step and say, I second that.
And he didn't say it 30 years ago. He didn't say it 30 years ago.
Right. And he was, and listen, the handwriting's on the wall. Because, JR, what do you and I say when every time Bruce Pearl said something, we said, how can people send their kids there? And I know Van used to like, how can you send your kids there? Sure. And it got to the point where we may never know if on his own, which I doubt, or the administration, but somewhere along the line, it became clear it's going to affect your recruiting. It's going to affect everything about what you do. So, Van, your thoughts on Bruce Pearl and him in particular, and coaches in general, on this day and age we're living in now, and how you got to connect with these kids. Talk about Bruce Pearl.
Well, the connection is with the whole house. You got to connect with the adults of influence in that house too. Because they are having conversations when you're not there. And so you want that conversation to be golden on both sides. You want them to be in agreement that, they even want you to come back, cross their threshold, back into their home again. And Bruce Pearl, he finally realized he's got enough money. He's old enough to move on to the next phase of his life.
Right.
And I really think it was a setup, timing wise, for them to hire his son.
Right.
There's no reason for him to make that decision now, knowing that, hey, those basketball players may be on campus. They are together.
Right.
From the first day that they get on campus, they may not be in the arena practicing and playing,
right,
but they are together. They are already doing things. The upperclassmen are already doing the drills and everything with the freshmen or transfers that have come in. They're already getting those guys up to speed on what the drills are,
absolutely,
what the plays look like, where everybody fits on the floor. The upperclassmen are already putting those things together,
absolutely,
outside of the coaches.
Absolutely.
And so what are you going to do? Hire a coach from the outside that's probably going to come in with a whole new system? No. And Bruce Pearl has cachet with Auburn. Yeah. So he cashed it in.
He cashed in his cachet. Dr. Green, your thoughts on Bruce Pearl?
I have a friend of mine who shared with me that he has two nephews, I think, that play basketball for Auburn. And interesting, he said, man, I know you all, look at Bruce Pearl through maybe a negative light, but my nephew say that he is a wonderful guy, and he really cares about his players, and he'll do anything for them, and so on and so on. And I really reflected on that, and I said, well, I guess maybe two things can be true.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe he can be a wonderful guy with those young men that he encounters on a daily basis, and still make absolutely objectionable things in reference to our community at large. And I can just tell you from a father's perspective, I don't care how good he was to my children, he could never get my blessings for my children to play for him. Not and make some of the statements that he has. And let me tell you, obviously you can disagree with President Obama on a host of issues, but to suggest that he was one of the most divisive presidents and divided the country,
right.
It's just not grounded in fact. I mean, I'm just trying to understand what made Obama, who is a biracial person, by the way,
right.
Who has a white and black parent, right, be so divisive. And so there was just some things that he said that I find just absolutely objectionable. But the other thing I want to say relative to what Van Zyl said, his departure, I don't think was forced, Stacey.
Okay.
I think it was strategic, because he wanted to put his son in a position to where he can get this 5-year contract to be the Auburn basketball coach. And they didn't even have an opportunity to do a search. Yeah. And so for all the people who scream nepotism when Bronny James is the last person to be drafted in that class almost, and you hear silence when Bruce Pearl hands over a program like Auburn to his son, who I've read has been coaching since 2017 and was in medical sales up until then.
Yeah, and that's a top 10 program handed to that guy, and that's a problem. That's another whole show, by the way. And I'm gonna talk about some of it on my show Saturday, by the way. 10 to 11 a.m. 100.7 FM in the Midlands, 92.9 ESPN Orangeburg, MakeThePointRadio.com online, 10 o'clock Saturday. But Jared, you're right, and that, in a community like we've come from, and as you said, a community at large, nepotism to me seems to be okay when one group does it, and it's expected. It's like, hey, that's what they do. And then when another group does it, like, hey, I've never seen somebody so worried about a 55th pick in an NBA draft in my life. All of a sudden, the 55th pick was crazy. He's taking someone's job. 50 and up get cut anyway. You ain't take nobody's job. He took insurance. Somebody gonna sell insurance with me. is whose job he took. But my point is, and Bruce Pearl, you're right. He perfectly timed that. You know, looking at especially what you guys said, he did it for his son to get that. But the 5-year deal is telling, not even a trial basis, 5 years, which means when he gets there and fails, they owe him the money. So he's set for life. That's a mafia don move right there. That's Godfather.
But I mean, honestly, you can't really even take all the social stuff out of it, and obviously there are good parts of everybody.
I met Bruce Pearl. I met him. I had a good time talking to him. I met him before.
I went to a good friend of mine. His son played it at Auburn. I went to the Final Four the last time they were there, man. I mean, there are good parts of everybody, and I'm not here to bang on say he's an evil person. And just he just said some interesting things. But with that being said, as a father, I shake his hand. He did exactly what any father wants to do for their son. He set him up very nicely, man. And he can go away. So, man, that's the game. He played the game well. No, he knew 20 years ago he couldn't. And he got, man, I want to get to that point.
Right.
To the point where I could just say, man, I got so much. Enjoy it, man.
He gets to the point where a lot of older people get where they just say what's on their mind. the problem with that is, and Steve Spurrier was here. He was getting that way. Steve Spurrier, he was heading there. He was heading there. But you know what? You get to the point. What's dangerous is the platform that he has, though.
Right.
But my granddaddy did it. He was talking to the people in a little Baptist church in Bennettsville. These people are talking to millions of people.
You're right.
They're talking to millions. They have millions of people.
You're right.
That they're influenced. So that's the danger part. But again, I met Bruce Pearl up at Oak Hill when Richie took that whole program up there, and he was at the recruiting Oak Hill. And I met him. We talked and laughed and joked. And I had a picture of him. And I think I sent it to you, Todd. Jerry, you probably said it before. And it was going to go on this wall, which I hadn't put in there, but I got to tell you, Smith.
We're going to put it on Lost Letterman.
No, don't do it. No, please don't. Please don't. Look, please don't. I got to tell you, Smith.
That's our new profile pic.
Me and Bruce. Get me counsel in Columbia. But I got a Tubby Smith, I got a Don Staley, I got a Curtis Fry. I got some guys like that. But I was up there on the wall. But Bruce Pearl was one of them. My wife said when I got my office and my bonus room, he was one of the guys going up there. And I thought about it. I was like, no, sir, he can't go on this wall right here.
And as an educator, Dr. Green and Venzo, you know this. It's not always about that top 1 or 2. Man, if the top 1 or 2%, I'm sure he's nice to them. Because what do you do for those kids who not in that top 1 or 2? Great those kids.
Great point.
Yes, sir. I mean, when you take somebody who can talk again out of both sides of their neck,
yes.
To me, they can't be trusted.
Right.
Which is why, to Dr. Green's point, you can't talk to my son or my daughter, or however that relationship might work out. I can't deal with that.
Yeah, and Van, that pressure was coming to bear. Not coming. You could feel the rumble. It was coming to bear, and I think so. 2 things are true. Again, Green, to your point, 2 things are true. He did it strategically. He set us up, but it was time to go though. It was time to go.
Well,
the rumblings were getting louder. It's time to go.
Let me say this: I don't begrudge him for doing something that sets his son up, except for the outrage when someone else tries to influence to benefit their children.
Yeah,
now that's the only issue. I mean,
when you juxtapose it against, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, with just the national outrage around how LeBron tried to use his influence, and let me tell you, I'm sure he did.
Right.
To try and help his son be the 55th pick in the draft, compared to no outrage.
Right.
When Bruce Pearl sets his son up to maybe make $30 million.
Yeah.
He'll never have to work again. He may get fired year 2, JR. They owe him all that.
The outrage. So I don't have a problem. Yeah, I would try and look out for my son like each one of us would, right. But don't have outrage when LeBron tries to help his son out.
Right.
And nothing when this happens.
Here's another backstory, Stacey.
Go ahead.
Is the athletic director going to the board to get that contract approved? So that's where the culpability is, because they very easily could have said, no, we're not signing him for 5 years. We'll sign him for 2 years.
That's what it should have been.
With 3 years on the option so that he can recruit.
Right.
And he's got to prove himself.
They went and sold that. They went and sold that and pushed it through, though. Right. That's a good point.
They sold that.
That's a mafia. So that's a perfect segue when we talk about money. We're on our last topic, folks, and we won't hold y'all much longer. And it's a great conversation. We'll do this again, but we talked about money. And one thing with the nepotism or the alleged nepotism, Deion got his sons. He brought his sons along. He got criticized for being a father. He's a black father. LeBron. So the NIL that takes me to Shador and some other things. But before we get out, the NIL is one thing that we could talk about, maybe another show. But that leads me to the final thing. The transfer portal and the way the money moves. As you touched on it earlier. Y'all's thoughts, and we'll go with the green first this time. Y'all's thoughts on the transfer portal, college and high school. We've seen some ridiculous moves in high school here very recently. And folks, this is only the beginning. It's going to get worse.
Yeah.
Dr. Green, you talk. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, and Stacey, you and I have had some conversations about a couple of high-profile moves we've had in high school recently, where we've had kids transfer mid-season. Play 4 games at one school, transfer. You got to sit out so many days, and now you can play for another school. That's just a bridge too far to me. That's just a bridge too far, and I think it has the potential to really destroy the integrity of high school athletics. Even college sports ain't gotten to that point. No. Even with all the transfer portal and all the NIL, you can't leave Notre Dame after the 5th game and go play the rest of the season with Southern Cal.
Right.
Not yet. College hasn't done that yet.
Not yet.
So not yet. All right. And so I think at some point in time we're gonna have to put more restraints on this whole situation before it just gets out of hand.
No doubt. Denzel, your thoughts on this transfer, the way it's moving? I mean, college is bad, but high school's gotten ridiculous. Your thoughts on the overall picture?
I've always said that any problem with children, the problem is actually with the adults of influence in their life.
Go ahead.
I don't care. It starts at home. A child that falls out in the grocery store is falling out at the house, and they are not doing anything about it. And the child just doesn't have the maturity to know the difference of where they are. They just know they want something. Yeah. And so unless the adults in the room on the high school league level put some things in place to prevent, this wild west from, continuing to be, because, all it takes is one. And now that one has done it, now you're going to see it again and then again, and it's just going to become more prevalent. But you got to stop it. As Barney Fife used to say, you got to nip it in the bud.
Nip it. So I'm gonna try to make this as concise as possible because I got so many thoughts on it. But so a college parent, I do high school, so I follow these kids, especially in Northeast, through their college journey. I stay in touch with them. We promote them. I had a guy, a friend of mine whose son was in college. He made a good point. He said, "You only got 5 years. You got to make it count. You got to make this college now. So that's why you saw it. So that's all you got. You got to take that to parlay into some money, the pros, 2 degrees if you can. You got to get whatever you can get. You got a cocoon. So under that understanding, these moves are going to happen because you got to squeeze everything you can out of it, right? Okay. Well, now high school, you got 4 years. Some people reclass it, but let's just say you got 4 years. You're going to see kids playing. It's a one transfer rule. Now that's going to stop. But we were headed for kids playing at 4 schools. Now I know a kid that played at 4 schools before this. So the one transfer, yeah. So think about it. Here's what we're going to see: kids in their senior year, that's their last year. You're going to get a scholarship. It's a free education, or you're not. Right? Kids are going to use everything they can to get everything. If it means. I don't, and I don't know if they're going to, I'm not saying people faking illness or anything like that, but they're going to do whatever they can to stretch that senior year out. If they can find a way to move, if you're Denzel, JR, Todd, if you're on the depth chart, you 3rd on the depth chart, this your last year, you 2nd, and you need some scouting tape, you got to do something. What you going to do? You're going to sit there and be a good teammate, knowing that every game that you go to every Friday night, you're one step closer to not going to college playing ball. They're going to kick and scream for you. Ain't seen the deviousness yet. Parents are going to say, I got 4 years. This last year, somebody got to give me something. I got to leave here with something, like Denzel said. I got to leave here with something.
Well, here's the thing.
Stacey, I think time will tell, but I'd make the argument these moves are not going to lead to any increased offers in most instances.
That's not
A
no.
kid leaving one school to go to another school is not as if you don't have any offers when you were at school A and now you got 10 offers when you arrive at school B.
You're 100% correct.
That's just not going to happen.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. But let me tell you something. As a former AAU coach or somebody who deals in high school athletics, rationale and parenting don't always go together when it's their baby boys and their baby girls. So you speak of rationality to people who got all their 100% emotions. That's them walking around in human flesh. Some of them living through those kids. So rationale, you're right. They don't get, but they feel like they can't stay still. Like I can't just accept this. You know what I'm saying? Back in my day, I was at Chesterfield. If I was on the bench, that's what it was, bro. If I was on the whatever it was, that's what it was, right? Now it's not. We don't have to accept this. I got to find a way to get out of it. I'm not going to accept that this is really all that's going to be for my kid. That's got to be something I can do. And right now, we saw 2 kids move this year. And unless something's put in place, John, why we won't see you can't tell me why I won't see 2 next year.
Oh, you will.
Yeah.
Because again,
this is a copycat
society. This is a copycat society. 2 did it. Oh yeah. Now the parents or whoever they are will, say, well, they did it. We can do the same. And I really hate it because, the postgraduate schools are now looked at like, that's nowhere. But I'm like, if your child is talented enough to get into one of those postgraduate schools, now I personally think their profile is actually elevated because they are playing in a tighter pool of greater talent. Okay, that's one. That was another one.
Well, Stacey, I'm gonna give you one twist on it before we go. And I'm a former high school principal and retired superintendent, and so I've had some conversations with this, really with the football coach at Fairfield Central High School, and I told him from my perspective, you owe something to the kids who are currently in your program. It's more than about winning. Right. Integrity has to mean something. And he, we get Demetrius Davis a shout out. He said, JR, I agree with you 100%. If I had a kid who has been with me all spring ball, been with me all summer, been with me all season, and all of a sudden there's opportunity for another kid to come in who may be a better quarterback, do I say now I'm gonna just put you on the bench because you give me a better chance to win? I'm not gonna do that. He said, I don't want to win that bad. And I said, well, Doc, I'm glad to hear that because I don't want to win that bad either.
And that's how it should be. But I'll say this, and I'm gonna get y'all's final. I'm gonna get y'all to plug what you do. But he has job security, though. If people don't have job security, might do anything, brother. Demetrius Davis has job security. He's in his hometown. He's won. He's went to some chips, and he's a hometown legend. He's had great administration around him that poured into him, and he's rooted in the community. He said, but that's some guys who they know that they don't win a certain level. They going somewhere else. But y'all, we're gonna put a ball in this. The show, we didn't want the show to be all negative. We did some predictions, and we gonna leave on a positive thought. And tell some people about how can we find you out here? You're retired superintendent, but you're not, as my pastor say, retired, but you ain't tired.
No, I'm retired superintendent, Doc, but I'm still sticking and moving, man. Doing some work through Green Team Consulting. So I do executive coaching. I do professional development. I work with a couple of firms. You can find me at jr-green.com. I release a leadership segment weekly called The Mirror Moment, and it's released on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok. You can find it on all the social media platforms. So reach out to me if you need someone to do leadership development, public speaking, or any kind of professional development.
Dr. J.R. Green, The Mirror Moment. Look him up. Benzel, talk about what you got going on out there.
Well, not many people are going to see me in my capacity from a media marketing perspective, but acting wise, yes. You can see some things out on YouTube. I've got a couple of things on Amazon Prime, a couple of things on Tubi, a couple of things on Peacock. So just go into your search browser on your favorite platform. You type in Vanzel Hair, Vanzell, not Denzel. Hair, Haire, and you'll be able to pull up things like Secrets in Plain Sight, which is currently featured on Peacock and Tubi. There's a movie called Test. It's on Tubi and Amazon. Son of a Preacher Man, which was produced right here in Columbia by Dr. Brandon Glover.
Okay.
Out the Barnes Entertainment. Wow Productions. We've got some things on YouTube. Wow Productions and Wow Studio One.
Yes.
Famous for the stage play Confessions of a Good Man. I was George Roberts, the good man.
Right. I saw y'all on social media. I saw y'all doing your thing, man.
So Todd, yeah, on social media is Vanzel here.
Todd, we're gonna put a bow on it, man. Dr. Green, Vanzel, we appreciate you taking some time with us on Timeout Convos with Stacey Hough.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah, jump in there, Todd. What you got, Todd, to close the thoughts?
I'd be remiss as one of my current roles as the general manager of the Gray basketball
my goodness.
program, not to mention
general manager,
the GM of operations. With that being said, just my own 2 cents worth on the track. First is I think that for some kids, and like we had Coach Staley on when Corey left.
Corey went to Oak Hill. Corey Corbett. Yeah.
For some kids, it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. And even Coach Staley said that. Yeah. Especially, I think the one thing is and he said this really much more eloquently than I could. You got to communicate. You got to communicate with your coach and let he or she know what's going on. The second thing, at least just in my brief time of kind of being in that world, most kids aren't mature enough to make that decision to transfer. They might talk about it, but most kids they don't want to leave their friends. They don't want to like the situations you're talking about, man. Those kids must be really mature because I've seen a lot of kids and like they're thinking about it, but at the end of the day, typically they just say, I'm gonna stay here. But also, Dr. Green made a good point. When you transfer, that doesn't have anything to do with your college because it doesn't matter. College coaches are seeing through all that. They can see you, man. Either they like you or they don't. The high school doesn't even matter. But also, I think that some of it, if there's so much noise around it, I don't think it's quite as prevalent as most people think it is to a material point of view. I don't think it's not as prevalent, but there's so much noise about it. People like me and like posting stuff, and it just starts putting gasoline on the fire. But I don't think it's as prevalent. And the last point is there's not a lot of money in high school athletics to me. Right. So like college is a different level. Like when kids even if, like take grade, just a quantitative. If Gray got the best 5 guys to play on their basketball team this year, it wouldn't be any financial gain really to the school of material impact. So I just don't think financially it moves the needle at all.
No, that's just
some bragging rights, but financially nobody's making no money off that.
No, you're right. You're right on that level now.
Believe me, because if they were, I would be doing it. I would have the best 5 right now.
No doubt. Hey, Todd, I appreciate you. I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate the fallback. Let y'all get the dinner. Dr. Green, Vanzel, Todd. Thank all y'all for tuning in out there. Stacey Hough with Timeout Convos on the Lost Letterman platform. Stay tuned. We got more episodes coming up in the future. Have a great sports week. Todd, thank you so much once again, y'all. We all have a good night, everybody. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Talking sports with Timeout Convos. Todd, take us home.